Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the next episode of Build a Beast. We are on an adventure this year. I am on a journey to level up my life, maximize my energy, my habits, my body, my mind. It's been a long while since I was at peak performance mode. Back in probably college hockey days was about the the peak of that. So in my journey to try and get back in touch and maximize my productivity personally and professionally, I have sought out the best of the best. We have an elite performance coach here sharing his program live on air with us each week. So you guys joining us each week are going to be a part of this experience, literally. So thank you for joining us. Drop a comment if you're in the mix and watching with us. But we essentially are here on this coaching experience journey together. So please be interactive, ask anything you want, and we are glad to have you. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in the man of the hour. He's an elite NHL performance coach that's transferred into business and executives, high performers. And he's sharing his program, The Energy Equation, with us today. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man of the hour, Justin Roethlingshoefer. What's good, my brother?
How are you, my man?
Excellent. Cranking through another week. Already starting to feel and see some of the upward trajectory a little bit with this adventure. So excited to keep it alive. I see Darren's rocking with us, and everybody else that's joining this adventure that's been a part of the first episode. Thank you. We're stoked to have you. Feel free to catch the replay. But today we're talking about habits and schedule. This is something that's a simple one-liner, but underneath it, a bottomless pit that we can explore. So Justin, feel free to take it away for how we can optimize our day, maximize our day with the proper habits and schedule.
Absolutely. So it's one of those things, and it becomes a very slippery slope, like you talked about, where we sit in this rat race all the time of what we call ourselves and kind of where we sit. And I know it oftentimes comes back to, oh, it just comes down to habits. It just comes down to habits. But what are those habits? What are the things that we need to nail down? And last week when we started, we dove into a lot of your information, Travis, and started to look at HRV, started to look at that one key metric that we're focusing on, so that we know we can understand what HRV really means and what that means in terms of stress and the load in which is placed upon our body, and what truly matters on a day-to-day basis for us. And so I'm going to go and share my screen here and really give this overarching look. Travis, if you want to take a little screen share here and open this up to these 8 areas that we really like to focus on and to identify with. And so number one is, as a lot of people would say, and this is not in the order in which it matters, by the way. And I know, Travis, that you and I have been working very closely on all of these habits and instilling them one at a time. And next week, we're going to be popping into kind of what the habits have done for you. But if we take a look, exercise is habit 1. And a lot of people go, how often do I need to work out? What do I need to do? It comes down to one planned time a day. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's so much. Like I can't even think about one time. But it comes down to, it's not the quantity of what we're doing, it's the quality of it. That could be a 30-minute yoga session. That could be a 30-minute meditation. That could be a 30-minute stretching session. That could be a walk outside for 30 minutes of active planned time. So one time planned a day. And it sounds super simple. And guess what, guys? It is. These things are not crazy, wild, and out there. They're very, very simple and habits that are able to be applied very easily across this whole board. And ultimately end up seeing a change in the data in which we're seeing. We'll dive into this in your data here in a second. The second is nutrition. And this one is one of my favorites, just to be able to say, because it's a simple 3-2-1 rule that I apply to this. So the 3-2-1 rule looks like this: 3 meals a day. And I know, Travis, you're like, there's no way I'm eating 3 meals a day. There's no way I can get it in. But guess what? You are. 2 pieces of fruit. And lastly, 1 big salad every single day. And that is literally how simple it gets and how drilled down it gets, because it does not need to be complicated. It does not need to be convoluted. Macros, micros, we get into that 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks down the road. But let's set some boundaries first. It's like, why are we worrying about the top of the pyramid? Why are we worried about the terrain and the ice and the spikes and the edges of the mountain at the top when we haven't even gotten up the mountain yet? We haven't even started walking yet. So next one is hydration. And this comes into half our body weight in ounces. And it's a very simple calculation. If you weigh 100 pounds, you need 50 ounces of water in a day. If you weigh 200 pounds, you need 100 ounces of water in a day. It really doesn't get any more simple than that. In hydration, caffeine has an effect on it. Alcohol has an effect on it. And when we go into it deep in depth on these on our certain days over the next 10 weeks, we're really going to dive into more information on that. Fourth is stress management. And we've all heard about different things that have different timings for us, but there's a certain time in our day based upon our cortisol and melatonin cycle of when stress management should be done, as well as when those triggers happen. So we should give ourselves 10 minutes every day of a parasympathetic activating active activity. Something purposeful, just like 1 planned time a day for exercise, 1 planned time a day for 10 minutes of stress management. When this is, again, it's different for everybody, and we'll get into this when it's there, and what parasympathetic activating activities are, such as meditation, stretching, yoga, breathing, journaling, reading, going for a mindful walk, listening to music, all of these different aspects that can be utilized in a very unique and different way. Number 5 we get into, which is exciting because this is one of my favorites, is environment. And when we come into environment, it's everything around us. So our home office, our work office, where we sleep, our bedroom, our kitchen, our house, our bathroom, the city we live in. We can get really, really micro, or we can get really, really macro. And a lot of people just are not inclusive or understanding of how stressful the environments are in which they're living in. Perfect example, and why all of this comes back to affect HRV. That's why yesterday's session of why HRV is important, why it matters, is because it's the internal load of stress and understanding stress on our bodies. And so the moment that we get to the can you guys see my screen still? Not sure.
Yeah, I can still see it, but it wasn't the whiteboard. Yeah, it was the Inception levels. All
Love
good.
it.
You're good, man.
So environment is everything around us. And so think about when you're living in your own apartment, and then all of a sudden you have to go back home and live with your parents for a week or 10 days. The first couple of days might be okay, but guess what? After that, it's like, God, I need to get out of here because the stress level starts to go up. But a lot of us live in these environments that are causing these things on a regular basis that we're just simply not aware of. So environment's a big one. Then we get into The big one, my favorite, sleep. Because sleep is so in depth and so key to longevity and changing the way in which we operate. And when we look at this, again, we need to prepare for sleep. And I'm going to go deep in depth on this when we get there, guys. Things like our circadian and circadian rhythm, our melatonin cortisol cycle, when these times are optimized for us. And we're going to use this 3-2-1 method again here. So 3 hours before bed. And how do we calculate our bedtime? You're going to have to wait till that week, but it's exciting. It's awesome. Transform your life, I guarantee you. 3 hours before bed, no major meals. Okay? 2 hours before bed, no more work. Okay? Or things that are going to put us in that stressed state. Emails, text messages, try to eliminate them. And 1 hour before bed, no more blue light. We're gonna that day is 100% going to be probably close to an hour. It's an awesome, awesome day. One of my most exciting ones because it just really dives into this unique aspect very, very, very well. Then the next one we come into, number 7, is immune function. And immune function is unique because what we do is we take a look, and it has a direct correlation back to our HRV, is if we see a 3-day decrease in HRV, that right there is an immediate signal that our body needs some type of help from a side in which we operate. And lo and behold, Travis did a DNA test, so we're going to know exactly what he needs to take in order to optimize his HRV and support his immune function when we see those 3-day decreases. But right now, what we want to be able to utilize is echinacea, vitamin C, and tart cherry juice. And we want to utilize that one time in the morning when we see that 3-day decrease. And if we see a 4th-day decrease, we use it again. But the moment we see an increase in that HRV, we stop because we do not want the body to get used to that or set up with that. And the last one, which a lot of people consider a wild card, but in this whole thing is really a major piece of this, is mindset. And you guys are going to get a special guest. My fiance, Elise, is going to be doing that mindset piece. She's a whiz at it and is going to walk you through her 7 levels of energy, what catabolic and anabolic energy do, and the way in which they operate together. Because, like we said, what does it all go back to? It all goes back to that parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system. Because parasympathetic being that rest, digest, relax, sympathetic being that high stress, anxiety inducing area. We live in sympathetic overload. We need to optimize our ability to get here. And we do that simply through understanding our HRV and the stress measures in which we're in typically. So that is the key. And those are the 8 areas in which we really find our habits need to be focused on, really need to be focused on. And that's the key to what we're looking at. So the moment that we look at this, we take a look back at Travis's data. And when we first started, we'll bring up this three-month chart. You can see here it was on January 3rd. So if we go out 1 month, we'll get a pretty decent look at it starting here on January 12th. I'll push this back so that we have at least 4 or 5 more days of data. You can see that we were really operating in kind of that yellow, couple green days. And if you looked at his HRV over those times, it was very spiky. Okay, so if we saw here, we went down 1, we went down 2, we went down 3. On this day, we had Travis activate through that immune function and immune system utilization tool. Well, boom, started to go up, boom, started to go up, boom, started to peak. We had one of his highest times over the course of that entire day. And something we talked about last time was incorporating habits and systems within our body on a regular basis so that it didn't matter the day necessarily, because the day and the score brings awareness to what habit, one of those 8 areas that we were not focused on, we were not utilizing to the best of our ability. And so if we look here, we see the trend, and the upward trend, if I was to put a trend line in, the upward trend is being seen. we're seeing it go in the right direction. And I know for a fact, because Travis and I discussed this, especially over our last call, was his major goal over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, was to get one planned piece of exercise in every single day. And he's been doing that. Now, because our body doesn't know the difference between physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual stress, this added exercise is going to be something new and foreign to Travis's body, which is why we would expect to see these little peaks and valleys, these little jumps in and amongst here. And when we come back and take a look at his recovery and how it's impacted him, we've seen a major increase in the number of green days simply because his HRV is starting to level out and become more consistent due to the fact that we are instituting a regular schedule for him in and amongst everything in which we're doing. And this low Saturday could have a couple factors. And I'll ask Travis. Travis will kind of come in here. But this may have been – actually, I'm not even going to start doing this. I want to ask Travis, what was that Friday that you did, Travis, that kind of led to this undertone of that item? And I'm going to write down a couple things here on my end, and I'm going to see if I was right.
No, there was two, I think, possibly things here that were deceiving. The obvious one that was not deceiving was we had a little Feel Good Friday action going on the weekend, and I happened to participate in some light drinking, which I don't do very often. So when I do, I feel it. And the trade-off.
Here's the key, though. And here's what I want to make known is health and wellness and longevity is all about rhythm in the body as well. And the fact that people engage in those habits on a consistent basis, but yet don't understand why they continually feel low on energy, continually sleep poorly, continually can't add those levels of optimization to their body because they're constantly drinking. They don't know the effects. They're like, I wasn't drunk last night. I didn't really feel the effects. But all of a sudden we look at it and your data doesn't lie. You have not had a red day. You have not had a red day. You drank on that day. Boom, away we go. Our HRV, let's take a peek, on that day was the lowest it's been. Our average is 88, Travis. It was 42. And if we go back to what HRV truly is and what it truly means is it's an internal metric. Look at that. That's the plummet that it had on that day. It's an internal metric of the stress that your body is under. And so simply being stressed about how we're utilizing it and how we're feeling is so, so important. And understanding that, hey, it's okay to go out and drink. It's okay to go and do that. But we better be adding in the methods in which we're going to recover. So we better be focusing on these 8 areas the next day extremely closely in order to minimize the effects of what we've been doing and get consistent with them from an exercise standpoint, a nutrition standpoint, a hydration standpoint, stress management, environment, sleep, immune, and mindset function. Because that allows us to have the freedom to go and do that every so often. And then just like you did, if I go back to that screen, I'm trying to go back to that screen. If I go back to that screen where we look at the rebound that happened, simply because we looked after it, going from 44 back up to 60, basically. And our recovery ups in back up to that yellow zone.
Yeah.
And so that is what is so key here. And what I really want to get you people to understand is that it's not about saying, I can only do this, I can only do that. It's about scheduling and factoring in all 8 of these areas that are truly purposeful in making sure that, hey, what I'm doing on 90% of my time is truly what matters. And so when we take a look at this and we get into our schedule, if we were to plan our day out, And again, depending on who you are, this is why, again, it's so difficult to say if you're just throwing out a generic plan. And that's why I never say, Travis, you have to work out first thing in the morning. No, I want you to work out when it fits your schedule. Why? Because it's going to decrease your stress over the course of the day. It's going to increase the likelihood you're going to do it. And when you plan it, you can also now build in your 3 meals a day, put them in, schedule them in, plan them in, make sure they're there, make sure you have everything. You can have the knowing if you need to get hydration in during your day. Hey, I'm carrying around this water bottle every single day. I know that it's 24 ounces. I know that I need to have 4 of them a day, getting me to 92 ounces, which for me is 185 pounds, which is what I am. And so all of a sudden you come down and around you, you can now plan everything out. And I can't wait to do this sleep day with you guys, because it's going to transform your life and how we look at sleep and how we optimize it and how we build it up to be truly purposeful in what we do.
Brilliant, man. No, that it's so funny for accountability purposes, like seeing the data. I enjoy being a data nerd, but it also has the contrast of like you have no excuse when you see something drop like that. Even in days, the counterintuitive part was I actually slept more that day. So more, as you were alluding to that quality piece earlier, I was like, oh, I'm sleeping in on a Saturday, whatever. Then I woke up, it was like, ooh, okay, something is, yeah, out of tune. So it's amazing to see.
And that's the key point. I see a couple comments here. Don't talk about sleep. I've got kids. How difficult it's. It's not about the quantity, guys. We need to stop thinking quantity, because as Travis just talked about, he got more sleep that night than before. It's the quality that matters and how we get there. And the habits in which we engage in on a day-to-day basis, the way we prepare for sleep, is more important than how much we get. Put it this way. When you go to sleep, you have 4 stages of sleep you're going to go through. You're going to go through light sleep, slow wave sleep, REM sleep, and deep sleep. And awake phase. Those 4 cycles is what you're going to go through over the course of 90 minutes. I don't care if you're black, white, male, female, young, old, big, small, does not matter. Overweight, skinny, does not matter at all. Does not matter at all. Every single one of us has the same 90-minute cycle. We all sleep for 90 minutes in one cycle. The difference is how long you spend in phases 2 and 3, that slow wave and REM cycle. And what is so beautiful is that we control how we get there. We control how fast we get there. We control how optimal our sleep is by the way in which we prepare it, in the way in which we prepare for it, how we control our HRV through the day, how we control our stress management, how we exercise. That 3-2-1 rule, and what I'm going to teach you guys on that sleep day is going to, like I said, transform and change your life. But it all comes into scheduling. And it comes into scheduling because we will schedule and we will control what matters to us. The best thing I love is when I've got my executives or my athletes come up to me and say, Justin, I don't have time. Well, you had time to schedule those 15 meetings in your day. You had time to schedule your golf tee time next Friday. You have time to schedule what you prioritize. And so when we take a look and we literally build out our wake time to our bedtime, and we know that we're going to have natural circadian rhythm and energy highs, lulls, peaks, and then a big decrease toward the end of the day. If we now plan everything according to our circadian rhythm, which we'll find out in our DNA and epigenetic testing day in which we take Travis through, we will now be able to put in, okay, hey, here I have to have breakfast. Here I have to have my snack. Here I have to have lunch. Here I have my snack. Here I eat dinner. Here's bedtime. 3 hours back. 1, 2, 3. No more big meals. Perfect. That lines up with this. Okay, 2 hours back. 1, 2. Right here. No more work. Okay, 1. Right here. No more blue light. Everything in here from this hour on. This is where we're doing our meditation. This is where we're doing our journaling. This is where we're doing our hot shower. Whatever we want to do from a stress management standpoint. We can, with all our clients and everyone we work with, we get them a laundry list, probably like 15 to 20 different items that optimize their stress management so that when we come in here, our melatonin cycle is peaking, our tryptophan level is peaking, our utilization of wind down is peaking, so that now that first 90-minute cycle that we go into, we're deep into that REM cycle. We're deep into that slow wave sleep cycle. And the quality of sleep is set for the day. And all of a sudden, we're like, oh my God, I had my meals planned. I had my exercise planned of when I was going to do it. I had my snacks planned. I had my 3 hours counted backwards planned. I had my water bottle with me all day. I knew I had to fill it up 3 times. I filled it up 3 times. The environment in which I was in, I was conscious of throughout the day. And I wake up the next day, and what do I see? High HRV score. I see high recovery score. I see quality sleep overall, even though I maybe only got 4 to 6 hours. No big deal. Quantity does not mean quality. And there's one thing I want to show you guys before we go, which I'll dive into really deep for you in a second here. But if we take a look, oh yeah, get ready for this.
Oh, baby.
Why? Yeah. Why? Quality and quantity does not mean the same thing. 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep. Here's the 4 stages. And we look at the percentages. We all of a sudden start to realize that the percentage in which we spend at each 8 hours is not created equal. And that is the pattern, and that is the things that we start to see. And that is the power of sleep, because we can all of a sudden we can't make this up. It's like Kobe Bryant said, what made him better than everybody else is that he was incrementally better. He spent an extra 30 minutes a day training, working on his craft. If you spend an extra 30 minutes a day in quality sleep, but get less sleep than everybody else, that's okay, because your quality is better, and the quality cannot be made up incrementally. 30 hours a day or 30 minutes a day is a 2.5 hours a week, which is a total of 10 hours a month, which is a total of 120 hours a year. You cannot make up 120 hours of quality sleep. I don't care how long you're alive unless you outlive somebody by a year. And so that is what we'll get into when we get to sleep. You'll start to realize why I love that topic and how it truly changes the way in which we operate on a multitude of platforms.
Amazing. No, this was brilliant to set the high level piece of each of those, really plugging those into there. I think a lot of people are starting to realize that this is sort of an a la carte type of thing. There are best practices, but there's no one answer of like the holy grail answer. So there's little details that you're always going to have to cater to yourself. I know, Thomas, you've had some really good questions coming through here, saying it doesn't quite fit your situation. So there's a few questions here we can dive into real quick before we lose Justin. If I missed anything, drop the question again. I didn't realize how much chat there was going to be, so it all got pushed to the top. But Thomas was asking something around medication and integrating that into your food or sleep habits. Because of the medication he takes, he can't eat at certain times. And it sounds like what he's taking, I don't know anything in this realm, Concerta XL, but it sounds like some type of like upper or something that keeps him up later in the evenings. And he's asking, how can I improve my sleep habits or eating habits if it has to be worked around this type of medication or stuff like that in that realm to sort of custom tailor this to everybody's scenario.
Yeah, so that's great. So a lot of times here, and I can't speak to different types of medication because I don't know his exact situation, but what we can start to do is it all comes back to that circadian rhythm and that cortisol melatonin cycle. Now, if he has to take his medication at 5 at night because that's what he has to do, and it thus influences or affects the way in which he can operate at the end of the day, then we have to try to make sure we can manage that in some way, shape, or form. But if all of a sudden we take a look at this and you have to start eating, you have to get your first meal the moment you wake up in order to take that medication, in order to get you going, then all we do is we adjust our meals, we adjust our wake time based upon our natural circadian rhythm. But we have to know what that is first before we can start to institute any of these actionary items. So understanding what it is that you need to do and how you put it into your system, how you put it into your day is truly indicative of planning. And now if it goes back to him, and again, we can ask him, I don't know if he's still on or if he's still listening.
I think so. They've been rocking and rolling. Yeah.
but if I'd love to know what problems or what issues or difficulties he finds implementing that in on a day-to-day basis right now. Like, is it that he doesn't plan, is he doesn't have a set time in which he's taking his medication? Or is it because we've got a lot of clients that are diabetics that we need to work around their cortisol and insulin cycles and based upon their blood glucose, what they're going to do. But we have set times in which we're tracking and monitoring, and we have systems set up. So if your blood glucose drops too low, this is what you do because we know what you need. If your blood glucose goes too high, this is what we do. So we associate it this way. So when I read a couple things in the comments that were saying like routine is impossible. Nothing is impossible, and routine is not impossible. The only thing that's impossible is creating good habits when we don't have routine. And that's the biggest thing that that we truly need to understand is it comes down to planning, and it comes down to executing that plan. Because planning and taking the time to focus on that is truly what will optimize us at the end of the day. And when we fail to plan, we're preparing to fail. I hate those cliches and those words, but that's essentially what it is here. Is if we can't plan, hey, I need to have my big salad with me for lunch. A great example. I was on with a client today, and he's like, we're going back. He's been with us for a month and a half. His big goal was weight loss. He owns a company worth about $800 million. He's just crazy busy with everything he does. He was doing meetings, scheduling meetings to start at 11:30 at night. Like, let's be honest. Like, this guy was just wild in terms of their overall times. But when we're talking about this, when we're looking at the straight aspect of habit, his habit every day is he would get up, he would drive to work, he'd grab a coffee at the convenience store, and then make his way into work. And then he's like, Justin, I don't have time to get lunch. I don't have time to do anything. Well, we threw a major timeout in this. We threw a major white flag because why? You have blinders on and you can't see outside. So a very simple thing that we needed for him was he's pre-diabetic. We needed to make sure that we regulate his blood sugar. Well, when he's choosing not to do that, your blood sugar is no longer regulated. So what we did, he's already making a purposeful choice to stop every single morning and get a coffee at the convenience store. So what did we do? We changed his stop in the morning to a grocery store in which he now buys a bottle of water, a coffee, a big salad, 2 pieces of fruit, and a protein source for his salad. He changed it where he goes, but he now just has, it's the exact same routine. It's not difficult, but the habit is now built because the routine is set and planned. And that's what the second course, this second day of going over, okay, we understand what HRV is. We understand what stress is in our body. Now we understand the 8 areas. And now we understand that schedule and routine and putting them in is so key. Now we're just able to go and operate at a very high level
Yeah.
and understand that this is just the way that we need to get structured and spend. Literally, if you need to spend an hour or 2 hours going through your schedule to set what makes sense in those 8 areas, that's what it requires.
No, and
Because then
this,
you're just an operator.
yeah, and this makes sense. I think to bring it back to a sort of that a la carte analogy. What Justin just laid out is the holy grail of like ideal day. Just addressing these one at a time and little customizations. So there were a few customization questions in here, like if you hate salad, what can you do in that situation? Alternative veggies or greens or whatever. There's little pieces of this that you can customize and cater, whether it's the schedule or where you stop in the morning. That's what I think a lot of you guys should, get in the mindset of, is taking this as the lanes and then finding how you can operate within that lane.
You're exactly right, Travis, because there's no overall there's no one overall arching solution. And I started with this on the first day that we talked, was high performance, longevity, optimization has become commercialized. It's become so commoditized. So I'm not sitting here selling a product. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, use my greens powder because it's going to change the way in which you live and change the way you feel. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, do my workout because it's going to change the way you feel. It's going to change the way you operate. I'm not saying buy my mattress because it's going to change the way you sleep. It all comes down to these 8 areas and get specific for you on your habits that thus affect your HRV, affect your data, affect your DNA, are all your gut biome, your epigenetics, all things that have purpose to what you're doing, so that we can make sure that you're not wasting your time. Because what do we all say? We don't have time. Well, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, you won't have time to redo it. So whatever we are doing, we want to do great. And we need to make sure that what we're choosing to do is optimizing the habits in which we're trying to operate at.
No, it's brilliant. That flexibility was the big piece that I always missed, going just all in, like, all right, guys, this is the year I'm eating right. And then you follow a strict diet, a strict workout routine, all of that. Without the flexibility, I'm the same way as some of you guys here. There's no way I would have been able to do all these at once. It's small implementations. And one more quick question we got from Thomas, asking about this customization as well, but on the side of exercise. He asked, what exercises can you do when you have limited space or equipment? And I know for damn sure you know a bunch of these, because I've been going through all the Own It videos that you do have for this exact scenario. So please, go ahead, take this one away, and then we'll let you go, Justin.
And here's the wild piece of what you're saying here is, like, everybody has limited space. Everybody has limited space. Everybody has limited equipment nowadays, because a lot of them you're working out in your home. I mean, for us, and my fiance's over there right now, but we set up we set up
there's limited space, ladies and gentlemen.
We set up our own little facility, like literally in the corner. But all of a sudden, hey, maybe you don't even have that equipment. If you have a yoga mat, if you have a bottle of water or a case of water, if you have a backpack full of books, weight is weight. But things such as high quality complex movements, squat to pressing, rotations, single leg movements, single arm movements, single arm rows, single arm presses, single leg deadlifts, lunges, lateral lunges, step ups, all these things that are utilizing a single appendage, all of a sudden is going to double or triple the actual weight load of what you're using. So you don't need something heavy. But then, because you have limited space, limited time, limited equipment, just increase the intensity or the speed, or limit the restoration of what you're doing, so that all of a sudden it increases that heart rate. And now you're getting something of a greater workout for the space and time in which you have. There are so many different workouts that you can do out there. If you go to my YouTube channel, I've got probably upwards of, I think it's close to 200 different 50-minute workouts that we've done. I've got probably another 150 15-minute core exercise workouts that I've got up there. There's so much. There's yoga. There's meditation. There's movement. There's so many that are out on YouTube that you can do body weight style. It really just comes back to your level of creativity, your resourcefulness, and looking for these areas. And then again, as easy as just designating a corner of your house to what it is that you want to do, and making it known. Like, there's garages that people have it set up in, there's closets people have it set up in. And then from a sheer motivation standpoint, it's that's part of the reason why we have our Own It morning crew that goes every morning, 7 a.m. Eastern, to get after it. We do it in a big community feel to bring that the community camaraderie and accountability to it. Because again, what did I go back to? It's in that schedule in which we're building one activity daily. And the reason we do it daily is because as soon as you give yourself an off day, and I'm not talking about intensity, guys, remember, your day that you're focusing for yourself is literally lay on your back and meditate. That could be the half hour that you spend. But when you make sure that you do it every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and repeat, that time that you know is yours, it becomes your exercise time. Whatever you do in that exercise time depends based on your HRV, depends based on how you're feeling, depends based on everything else. So that is that's the key to making sure that this all comes together and that you have it scheduled, planned, and routined. And again, I want to reiterate this, because schedule is not the overarching, overbearing thing that it's set in stone and it's done. You can't change anything up. I know, Travis, when we've been talking, going through a lot of things, you're like, well, I can't do it on this day because of this. I can't do it on this day because of this. No problem. When can you fit it in? But plan it. Plan it. And your best friend becomes that Sunday or that Saturday or whatever that you plan the next week and the next week after, the next week after. So it's already preset. You know what's there, and you just become an operator. And the difference is you become a conscious operator.
Love it. Love it. No, this is brilliant, and I think that leads into what we're going to be jumping into next week, the exercise category. This is one of the biggest pieces here that I think people can really break a lot of their mental hurdles or mental barriers, thinking they need to go all like Arnold at the gym and get all pumped up, because there's so many different options, like you were mentioning, from yoga to free weights to obviously there are those high strain exercises to jump into. And I see you're hopping up into the screen share action.
I'm going to show a little preview to next week, is because you see all of a sudden in here where Travis has been focusing on daily activity, daily things in which he's doing. And this is over the last, since the 27th, every single day he's been doing something. And something for him is where we've been going. And we've seen the upward trend in HRV. We've seen the downward trend in resting heart rate. We've seen all the metrics start to work in his favor, because he's focused on one of those 8 habits and he's instituted it every single day. And next week, we're really going to get into depth as to what that looks like from an exercise standpoint, so that at the end of the day, Travis can be a better version of him. And by no means is exercise number one. If I was to put it on the list, it's way down at the bottom of making sure everything else comes together. But again, they're all bespoke inside one another, as a cog in the wheel that makes it function.
Brilliant. No, this is perfect. So for everybody here that's been joining this journey with us, the first episode, the first week, we went into wearable technology, how you can use anything from Apple Watches to these Whoop bands. There's all kinds of products, rings that will give you this data, these numbers that we're looking at if you want to join the journey. Today, we set the high-level habits and structures we're going to be shooting for, and now we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty, the deep details of each of those pillars that have been set up. So to wrap things up, Justin, do we have any homework or preparations or game plans between now and next week to come to the next show prepared for learning about exercise and integrating the proper physical activity and physical strain into our lives? What can we focus on or answer for ourselves or track? Anything between now and next week to be a little bit more prepared for sharing this journey together?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you remember last day, what we wanted to do is we wanted to get something that measured HRV. And so making sure that we had something. And if we didn't have anything to measure HRV, resting heart rate. First moment we woke up in the morning, as soon as our eyes opened, 1 minute HRV. Resting heart rate. Going forward now, so this should be now a routine. We should be getting our resting heart rate every single morning, or we should be looking at our HRV every single morning. Now going forward, heading into our exercise week, what I want you to think about, guys, is what can we do? What excites us from an exercise routine standpoint? Find YouTube videos, find a time, but just look at our schedule from today through next Thursday and find half an hour. Let's start with 30 minutes every single day that we can put something on. And when we come back next Thursday, we're going to give you guys options. We're going to give you guys plans. We're going to teach you how it all comes together, why you may see a decrease in HRV as you continually start this exercise journey, but the fluctuations in which you should see, and ultimately what that exercise journey looks like and how it should be balanced, how it can be optimized, and really what it looks like from an overarching view.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, better have your 30-minute window found. If you don't have it found, you are simply making excuses and it is not a priority in your life. So looking forward to continuing this journey. Any final calls to action or things from your world before we wrap this show, Justin?
Again, guys, just remember that it's all about planning. It's all about scheduling. It's all about making yourself a priority. And the moment that you plan, the moment that you have it laid out, the moment that you prioritize is the moment that you become a conscious operator.
Boom. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Build a Beast. We'll catch you next week.